This is Point of View, celebrating a world record-breaking 62 years of quality public affairs programs from the studios of WDEF News 12, Chattanooga.
Thanks so much for joining us. We are on location today for a very special conversation. I'm Nicole Brown, and I am live here with the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. And I have a very special guest today, and we're going to talk about being prepared for the workplace. So many students across the country are about to graduate, and I thought who better to talk to than Mr. Dan Lothian himself, former CNN White House correspondent, owner of Dan Lothian Media. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me.
Thanks for having me here.
So we've been talking a lot today, but I had to track you down and actually make you have a seat because we have some things that are happening in the country. A lot of graduates are about to grace the stages, and they're so proud, and I'm a graduate, I'm going to get this job. But for you, your career started right here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, WDEF.
That's right, and I remember, it was back in the dark ages, before people had cars and before we had electricity. No, just kidding. But it was a different time in the business, but it was wonderful. And I remember the anxiety of you're right about the time that you're wrapping up, and you have big dreams, and you want to get out there and put all the skills that you've gotten throughout your collegiate career. You're ready to put it to work, to the test. And it's a little nerve-wracking time, but fortunately for me, I was able to land that first job here in Chattanooga, and it was just a wonderful learning opportunity and a great launching pad for me.
So speaking of learning opportunities, I'm going to reflect just a little small time ago from being in college undergrad and looking at the professors going, yeah, I have this. But then there were some tools that I took with me, and I still use those tools today. What tools do you keep with you?
Well, I think the level of curiosity, and maybe that's not necessarily a tool, it's something that I certainly sharpened while I was in school, and that's just looking to ask the right questions about everything around you. And that made me, I think, a better reporter, and certainly made me, I think, a little hungrier than some of the others, because anytime we went out to cover a particular story, I was always looking around for what else is somebody else not covering. And so, and I think I really sharpened that in college. Some of my professors who were really good at their job, and they pushed me to look for more, to dig a little deeper. And when you start breaking stories and getting elements that other people don't have, that's how you get noticed. And I think it helped me in my career.
I'm so glad you took this conversation to this place, because sometimes in our careers, we're not celebrated, meaning we're told no. And so there's this generation that's going into the workforce. They're going to have maybe 50, 60 applications out there, and they're going to be told no. Are you told no today at this level of a profession?
Oh, yes. I thought I had gotten over the no, and it's never fun to hear no. Rejection is never an easy thing, no matter how often it happens. And fortunately for me, as long as enough people say yes, then it softens the blow of the no. But even at this level, there are times where I'm trying to get certain aspects of our new online business going, and we think we can develop it a certain way, and there's someone who says they're going to help us with it, they're going to talk to us, they're going to provide us with information. All of the various different promises that we get from time to time, and then when it comes down to it, they don't. They say, sorry, not interested. And that rejection is never fun. But I've found that if you can turn that rejection into an opportunity to see what you did wrong, what you can do better, and use it to motivate you, then I think rejection, no, can be a good thing. Can be your friend.
It could be a friend. And speaking of something else that happened in your career, you asked the President of the United States of America a tough question.
Right.
And you were pretty hammered for even having the gall to ask such a question. Do you have any regrets of that today?
No, the question you're referring to is whether or not I asked the president, based on what some of the candidates, the Republican hopefuls at the time, had been saying, whether waterboarding, which he had said was torture, whether it really was. And the way I phrased it made people think that I was, sort of beating up on conservatives. And I've been asked this many times, and I think at the end of the day, what you do when you ask a question, certainly of anyone, but of the President of the United States, is that you want to knock that person off their talking points. You don't want that person to have an easy answer and to fall back on what they say to everyone else. And so when you think of how you frame your question, you try to sort of back the person into a corner so that they'll answer it differently. And that's what I was doing in that case. If there were another way that I could have asked it that maybe wouldn't have thrown so much heat on me, perhaps, but I can't imagine how. If I'd given an out, he probably wouldn't have answered the question the right way. And sometimes you have to be a little edgy to get the desired result, and that's what I did in that time. There's very little looking back and wanting to do do-overs. I mean, I'm sure there are a handful of things that I'd love to do over, but that's not one of them. I would have done it the same way.
And I'm glad that you said you would have done it the same way, because that's what this generation needs to hear, to be the risk takers, so that you can get that somebody's paying attention to you, and also potentially be hired by maybe a bigger corporation. Would you agree with that?
I think so. I mean, you know, the question that I'm always asked is how do you stand out from the rest of the pack? There are a lot of great journalists out there. There are a lot of people with degrees who are out doing the same job. But in order to make it to the next level, sometimes you have to do things, and I'm not saying be careless and reckless and, you know, just try to get attention for no other reason, just getting attention. But there are times that you have to be creative in order to get the attention of the people who can give you the job. And news directors and other managers are looking for what makes the next person special. You know, we can find people to do the job pretty much anywhere, but how can we hire someone who's a little different, who brings something added to the discussion that will help the fortunes of our publication or our network? And I think that if you're focused on that as well, in addition to working hard, it can help your career.
So speaking of being creative, you were taught, and don't take this as an insult, but it's almost a great thing. You were part of history, per se, when you were trained in a different way. And here you are today, years later. We won't count the years, we're just like years later.
2 years.
2 years later, yes. 2 years later, and you've had to kind of retrain yourself, would you agree, on how the medium of communication is
Completely.
Completely, right?
Yeah, it was, you know, the old school way of thinking was that you were a broadcaster, you know, or you were print, you know, you did TV, or I do radio. And really, it's now about just media in general. And I fully understand that now, because I do a lot more on the online side platform, where it's a mixture of, you know, podcasting and videos and text. And it's understanding the way that the consumer gets its news now, where before people did appointment viewing or appointment listening, where something's coming on and you start at that time, it ends at a certain time, and that's where your audience is. Now your audience is 24/7. They're looking for content all the time. They want the content on their mobile devices. And so that presents new challenges, I think, for all of us in the industry, but certainly for those who've gotten so used to doing the old way, it can be a challenge present some hurdles for those who aren't willing to shift. But as someone said, and this is not a quote that came from me, but someone said, you know, the option is dying. your industry, and not literally dying,
Right.
but like the industry, newspaper is dying. So you either go ahead and you're innovative and you move with the way that the business is going, or you're dead. And I'd rather be moving and learning and building and trying new things.
So let's try something new here.
Yeah,
Ready for a speed round?
okay.
I ask you a question, you give me quick responses.
Oh, no.
Because, you know, this
These
is
are
the new
scary.
generation, so, you know, they're
That's
prepared
right.
for the workforce. They're all engaged, always on their cell phones, so we have to kind of catch up with them.
Okay.
Favorite professor in college and why?
Wow. In undergraduate, it was Marvin Easley, just a wonderful individual. He had really deep, great pipes, and he taught me to have a passion for broadcasting and for digging around and finding opportunities. And forever, he passed away, but favorite professor.
Got it. Let's switch gears. The importance of working in a diverse workplace when it comes to a broadcast professional.
Yeah, I think it's important. The audience is very diverse, and so you can't just offer up one flavor in the type of content that you produce. So you have to reflect your audience.
The speed round is continuing. You're doing pretty good with your responses. I'm going to give you that. High five.
Thank you.
You're pretty good. One thing or two things you should not do when you're on the job as a broadcast professional.
Wow, that's a tough one. You should, one thing or two things that you should.
I'll give you two, because I like
Two things
you.
that you should not do. Don't show up late. So I'm a stickler for that. It's a pet peeve. Don't show up late, and always carry yourself. Don't carry yourself with sort of this big sign that says, you know, I don't really care, kind of thing. You have to, there has to be more than, and it's not just about the way that you're dressed. There has to be something about you. There has to be a level of confidence and a level of engagement. I can pick it up right away. And if someone walks in and you see them, just the way they're acting, the way they sit down in the chair, it's like, you know, this person is just not engaging. And, you know, if they wanted a job or wanted to move up in a job, I'd look at them a little funny. So, and show up on time. Pet peeve.
Now, this last piece of the speed round is all about Mr. Dan Lothian. You were at CNN, you decided to leave, create your own company. You could have gone off into the sunset, chill out on the beach, but you chose to continue to work. Why?
Well, I'm not sort of a sunset, go off into the sun, although I love the beach, and I'd love to spend a lot more time on the beach, but I can't ever see myself not doing something. I love learning new things. I'm a type A personality who loves to discover, to push myself beyond things that I've tried before. I feel like if you're not learning, you're not living. And so that's kind of my mantra, and I live by that. And so that's what keeps me going.
Wow. So you did really good with the speed round. You're used to
Thank you.
this, I guess, from covering presidents in the United States of America. That
You have to
gave
think on your
you
toes.
an edge. Yeah, but we really appreciate you also being a fellow and resident here at the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga in the Communication Department. I understand this is your last day today.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful experience, and I know this sounds a little trite, but I have. I hope that I've been able to impart some of my wisdom from my years in the business, but also bring it to the present and some of the challenges that I face in building out these new platforms. But likewise, you know, it's been a wonderful opportunity to be around young people who are just getting started, and I remember what that was like, and I can get inspiration from that and can learn new things. So it's been a two-way street.
And I'm learning from you just from being your colleague here in the comm department. So you've challenged me, and I really, really appreciate that. So as we kind of wrap up, we only have a few moments here. Thank you again.
Thank you.
You have to answer this one question: Donald Trump and Hillary, or Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders? Answer quickly.
Donald Trump and Hillary.
There we go. We got the
Yeah.
answer. For the future broadcast journalists out there, we thank you so much for tuning in here as we're on the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga campus. Good luck to you as you pursue your career. Back to Point of View.
You're doing great. We're gonna try this again, okay?
Okay.
Wheels, pedals, handlebar, brakes. Sit up straight, keep your weight in the center, keep your eyes on the road, hands on the grips, button the seat. If we feel ourselves falling, what do?
Just keep pedaling.
Good girl. Now remember, it's all about balance and steering. Steer with your hands, steer with your body. Steer into the corners and you stay out of trouble. And the bell's your buddy, so go ahead and ding that. All right, you ready? Here we go. Pedal, honey, pedal. There you go, you're a bike rider.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
Join us for Point of View, weekends on News 12 Now and Bounce Chattanooga.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Hello and welcome back to Point of View. I'm your host, Maurice Lewis. Listen, well, this is a great show this afternoon and morning, I should say, that we have. We have Anthony Sigismund and also joining him, Olivia Lee. Why are they here? Yay, they're graduating from college. Guess what happens now? Bills, student debts, job hunts. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
And also with us today, we're delighted to have an old friend back with us today to talk about something that is really fun. It's Jazzanooga. James McKissick rejoins us. James, good to have you here with us today.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Well, Olivia and Anthony, what has the 4-year journey been like for you guys in college?
Well, it's been different because I came into college knowing what I wanted to do, but I was very inexperienced coming in. So just what I've developed over the years and the classes I've taken and the opportunities that I've received have just been very beneficial up to this point.
When you say inexperienced, what does that mean?
Well, in high school, I was all about business major, so I was doing accounting, but when I came to college, I knew I wanted to be a sports journalist or be involved with journalism in the sports world. So I was very inexperienced. I wasn't very sure of how to write AP style or how to be on the radio, so I've learned a lot coming to UTC.
So now you're getting ready to come out of college. What's your major and what are you hoping to do?
I'm a communication major, and I hope to be a sports journalist somewhere, maybe a beat writer, and hopefully it will take me into other opportunities where maybe I can be on the air and be invited to speak about what I know in the sports world.
Well, if you're going to be a sports journalist, you have to have a nickname. What have you decided for yourself? Or have you?
I haven't decided yet. I think I'm just sticking with Anthony at this point, but hopefully maybe something will change.
All right, and Olivia, for you, marketing is the thing?
Yeah, marketing's my thing. That's not what I originally chose, but you know, as you go through college, you find things that you really enjoy and things that excite you, so that's what I've ended up with.
So if you were going to market something like right now, a sports journalist, what would be the things that you would be looking for to make the public aware of?
Well, really, it's all about persuasive tactics, and that's something that I learned a lot about through my classes and my studies, and my mentors is a lot about just learning how to set somebody up to look their absolute best.
Have you been able to put these skills to work as an intern?
Yeah, so I have an internship right now at a local company called InfoSystems, and they've just kind of let me loose and kind of let me do my thing. I get to do a lot of creative stuff and do what I really enjoy doing, so yeah, it's been a great experience. So
if we were to clone you, would you recommend that they come and work here for me on Point of View?
I definitely would, yes.
Well spoken. James McKissick, in your other role from the Office of Multicultural Affairs in conjunction with the City of Chattanooga, you guys always look for talented interns.
We do, and we have about 30 interns that we place in city government each year. It's an excellent program, and people get lots of experience, lots of hands-on work experience. And we are actually recruiting for our summer internship now. The deadline for that is April the 29th, and you can apply by submitting your resume through email to jmckissick@chattanooga.gov.
When you talked about changing your majors, tell me, what was the reaction from your parents?
Well, I think they ultimately just wanted me to be happy going into doing something I wanted to do. And when I was in high school, I really thought I wanted to be an accountant and join the business world. But I was always been a sports fanatic, and so I wanted to try to incorporate that into something I like to do. And so in high school, I found out that I was a pretty good writer, and I wanted to take that to the next level. And I think the knowledge of sports that I have, along with my writing skills, has translated well since I've entered college.
What is most important for you as a potential sports writer? Brevity, knowing history? What's most important?
Well,
colorful language?
I would say just knowing not just the big details, but also the smaller details. So knowing your surroundings and knowledge that other people don't have. You know, most people will know the big stories, such as today is Kobe Bryant's last day in the NBA, or the Golden State Warriors are trying to set an NBA record today. And those are big news, but I think smaller things and smaller details are better to know.
Do you think most people would know how much the tickets are selling for? That's a small detail, but it's a big detail. Do you have that knowledge?
I do not have that knowledge.
$27,500 minimum.
Oh, wow.
Marketing. Right?
Yeah.
It's all about marketing. It's the last day. So as you switched your major, how difficult was it for you to make the transition and to really focus in on this is going to be it?
Well, I never changed my major, actually. Communications ended up being exactly what I needed the whole way through, but I do know a lot of people that have struggled with having to change their major somewhere along the way and been behind.
The most important thing for people that are coming to City Hall or any place else for an internship, what is it? Preparation, the resume, the brevity of it, the clarity of it?
I think just the eagerness and the ability to be open, because many people have a limited concept of what government does. They don't realize that government does marketing, that we have sports programs, that we have arts and culture related programs. people have just one idea that they think government does or what employment opportunities government affords. So being open to try new things, being committed, being on time, you know, the basic soft skills. But we really encourage all people to apply. Age is not a requirement.
That's very important to hear you say that.
I mean, because people of all ages should have an opportunity to come and intern in our city government and explore that and maybe find out that there's a new career there waiting for them. 9 of our interns have either stayed on in careers or gotten hired by city government, so we're really proud of that.
Anthony, what's your preference? Do you want to be a print sports journalist, electronic,
That's
blog?
Well, I don't think I have a preference. I do like writing for print because I like to open up the newspaper and you get to see your byline in there with your name next to it. But
My man.
I don't have a preference. I like writing online too because I think it opens up to more of the world or the nation where everyone can see it rather than print newspaper where it's kind of secluded in one area such as the school newspaper. It's more secluded to the UTC campus rather than outside of Chattanooga.
And Olivia, in terms of marketing, is there a particular type of campaign that you like, or just the essence to take whatever the client brings through the door at that moment, or whatever the challenge is?
Yeah, well, obviously the most fun's probably throwing events and planning events, because you get to see people come in and they enjoy themselves, or maybe they don't enjoy themselves, and you automatically know how you did. I do enjoy digital marketing too, though. That's something that's really exciting for me because it's still up and coming and we're still learning about it. But yeah, definitely throwing an event is really, really fun.
How do you catch on with marketing an event or an idea with older people who are not as inclined to use social media? Their phone may be a flip phone, but it doesn't do a lot of different things. So how do you bridge that gap, or can you?
Yeah, well, so a lot of times it comes down to cold calling, going and meeting people, actually getting face-to-face with somebody and saying, hey, I really would love for you to come to this event. So, I mean, digital media is never going to work for everybody, so it's a good way to reach the younger crowd, but then you've always got to go back to those foundational marketing tactics.
Well, how have you two put those tactics to work for you in your job search?
Well, so far I've
Look at that smile, would you?
I'm excited that I'm starting to move forward into my career, but so far, you know, I've gotten a couple opportunities at the school, whether it's the student newspaper in the Echo or the student radio in the Perch, and I've also have an internship at River City Sports, which is a web-based media that started in 2014. So I think that just developing writing skills and being more comfortable interviewing players and coaches has been very beneficial towards what I'm doing.
James, do you hear that kind of enthusiasm from a lot of the potential interns that you've met?
We do. We hear lots of enthusiasm, lots of questions too, like what will I be doing? How does government work potentially apply to me and my major? And one thing that we love to do is place people in positions where it might not relate to their major, you know, so that...
Why in particular would you do that? I think I know, but go ahead.
To mix it up a little bit, but also to help them understand that there are strengths that they might have that they don't even know about. And I listen to the people here talking about, you know, how their majors changed. And I started out as an English major, then I was an English environmental science major, then ultimately graduated as an English teacher, and now I work in government. So you never know where you're going to end up. The important thing is that you get an education and pursue that, and then get as many experiences in the work world as possible, because that's when it really will open up you know, that, and will reveal what you should be doing with your life.
One of the other things to remember, you may have gone to work for firm X, Y, or Z. Uh-oh, they got bought out. Your position may not really jive with somebody else who already has it, that may be more favored or may have more longevity than you do. Now what? What are you cross-trained to do? And I think that's what you're mentioning here. You've got to have that backup, and you've got to have that resume already ready, because the seat that you're in, I remember when I first started in broadcasting, and I became an anchor, and they said, you know, that's not really your chair. There was someone in that chair before you got there, and you hear those footsteps behind you, that's your replacement waiting to knock the door down to get to you. So have you considered that at all, how to be cross-trained?
Yeah, so it's something that's really important whenever you think about, your job title and what you're doing right now is kind of like, it's mostly about confidence, so about what I know I could do if I'm handed, this other thing, and what else can I pick up on the way to, take on some more responsibilities and see how valuable I can make myself.
I think the biggest thing too is, building your resume throughout college and really getting a lot of most experience as you can, because right now I don't have a lot of experience, but I think coming out of college, the more experience you have, the more opportunities you'll be able to receive.
You haven't mentioned networking, and that's why I need to switch gears and go to James, because you've got networking that is making an event here in Chattanooga very popular, and it's called Jazzanooga.
It is.
What do you have coming up here very soon?
Well, Jazzanooga is an organization, and we do things all year, but every April we celebrate Jazz Appreciation Month with a series of large concerts, and we bring in top jazz artists from around the country and around the world to perform here in Chattanooga, and we're doing that April the 22nd through the 24th, and we have Christian McBride Trio coming.
Oh, fantastic.
Arturo O'Farrell.
I did an interview with him for one of his first
You did?
albums.
Wow.
Yes. Great bass player.
Great bass player, yes.
Right.
Many Grammys to his name. So we're out promoting, encouraging people to go online to jazzanooga.org
and it's the
and buy
29th.
tickets. Yeah.
Okay, jazzanooga.com. Listen, we want to thank you guys very much for Anthony and Olivia, and also James for being with us. Best of luck to you guys as you continue your search for great jobs. Also, folks, we want to remind you here next week on Point of View, we'll be talking about some of your favorite things, where to go, what's good to eat, fun things, where to shop. In the meantime, you can always catch us on Saturday mornings at 6:30 a.m., so set your DVR, and then on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock on Bounce. So once again, James McKissick, thank you very much, Sylvia, and Anthony. How could I forget Anthony?
Thank
you very much. I'm Maurice Lewis. The show is Point of View. Thank you for joining us.
Closed captioning provided by the following.
Funding for this program is brought to you by Barnett & Company, specializing in tax-efficient strategies for the preservation and distribution of family wealth, offering continuous investment management with a focus on long-term strategies. Areas of service include investment, estate, education, and retirement planning. Barnett & Company, the power of compound returns over time. More information can be found on the web at barnettandcompany.com.